Hello everyone, welcome back to LewisFiction and welcome to how to reboot the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If this is your first time around the channel and you enjoy what ifs, fanfiction and theorizing, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to push to 10,000 subscribers. Let's try and reach that goal. Without further ado, let's get straight into this. So first things first, we have to establish where this reboot is coming from. Will it just be a flat out hard reboot, or will it be more of a soft reboot? In this video, I'm going to be tackling what a potential reboot for the MCU would look like post Avengers Secret Wars. So it's going to be more of a soft reboot with elements traveling over from the old MCU into the new one, whilst also integrating new elements as well. Secret Wars, as we know in the MCU currently, will be a big opportunity to make changes to the continuity. We assume that by the end of that film, multiple universes across the multiverse will come together to make one new sacred timeline. This gives us license to write whoever we want out of the story and write in whoever we want as well. One of the timelines that will probably be written in will be the Fantastic Four's universe, which at this current point in time is actually separate from the 616 universe in the MCU. Either way, now that we know where we stand, what characters from the MCU at this moment in time will we be transitioning over and keeping on for the new MCU? Number 1, Deadpool. Deadpool, I believe to be the most important character to keep to transition over for one simple reason. He will be the connective tissue between the old MCU and the new one. This has already been proven with Deadpool and Wolverine connecting the Fox movies over into the MCU. Deadpool made that transition seamless and made it really understandable for the audiences. He will easily be able to catch up audiences with his meta jokes and fourth wall breaks. Having a brand new Deadpool movie or film, or maybe even just a short featuring Deadpool, will be crucial in setting up the tone and the stakes for the new universe. In fact, it doesn't even have to be anything big. Like I mentioned, it could just be a short film, or something like a Marvel Studios special presentation that releases exclusively to Disney+. Either way, I think it's important for Deadpool to be carried over. Number 2, Spider-Man. Tom Holland's Spider-Man will be kickstarting his brand new trilogy only a year before the next two Avengers films, which means there are many more stories to come for him. I believe he should be kept around to finish off those films and those stories that are to come. Plus, Secret Wars would be a great way for him to receive the black suit for Spider-Man 5. One change you could make, however, is in this new universe, write in a version of Miles Morales if he hasn't already been introduced in Spider-Man 4, because then after Tom Holland is done playing the character, his successor is already there, ready to go. This reboot also maybe gives license to maybe tweak his origin story as well. As we know, a lot of complaints about MCU Spider-Man are to do with the first 3 films and how they handled his origin and the Great Responsibility arc, and Tony Stark kind of filling in the role of Uncle Ben. This could actually be tweaked if they really wanted to. There's actually a theory out there that suggests that after Secret Wars happens, the new Spider-Man animated show coming to Disney+, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, will actually be the brand new origin for the MCU Spider-Man, and that will then continue with Spider-Man 4 onwards. So there's a possibility that that's how they handle this situation. Either way, Spider-Man should be kept around. Number 3, Daredevil and the street level stuff. I thought I'd group this into one, but like Spider-Man, Daredevil's first season in the MCU will be released close to the Avengers films, Doomsday and Secret Wars, meaning that if Charlie Cox were to be recast or the character were to be completely changed, rebooted, or even written out of the new MCU, it would mitigate the meaning of those stories. Plus, the Kingpin MCU saga has just started as well, and I think that's important to keep around. With all the multiversal, universe-changing, cosmic stuff that's going on in the MCU, and no doubt that will transition over into the new MCU as well, I think it's good to keep some sense of reality, something that the audiences can relate to and latch onto. And I think Charlie Cox's Daredevil stuff, including the Netflix stuff as well, should be kept around in the new canon. Plus, since the first 3 seasons of Daredevil don't actually reference the grander MCU that much, there's a good possibility that changes can be made without any big ramifications to that story. Number 4, Miss Marvel. I think Miss Marvel deserves a chance in this new MCU. I think she's been done dirty with the poor reception of some of her stuff, and Iman Vellani is really great in that role. Plus, Miss Marvel is a comic character at the moment that's getting a lot of attention, and she's probably one of the more popular modern comic book characters, and I think she deserves a shot in the Marvel Cinematic Universe when the reboot actually happens. Plus, recently in the comics, she's actually become a mutant, so she could also be a key in introducing the X-Men in this new universe as well. Number 5, Shang-Chi. The first movie was amazing, and he's only just getting started. He definitely deserves more, and that's all I need to say on Shang-Chi. Plus, like I mentioned with Daredevil, not a lot from his his side of the Marvel Universe will really change if the reboot actually happens. So therefore, I probably think you could keep his first movie with maybe minor tweaks to the continuity, and it still makes sense in the new continuity. Okay, now that I've gone through things that I would keep, let's move on to things that I would remove from the MCU. Number 1, any remnants of the old Avengers. As much as it pains me to say, the majority of the original Avengers are either dead or retired. I know Hulk still exists, and I know Hawkeye still exists, but it's time to recast. This new universe gives us a chance to see new faces in the roles of the likes of Iron Man, Captain America, etc. And for the original Avengers that are still around, I don't think Jeremy Renner and Mark Ruffalo can do another 20 years as those characters, so I think it's time to recast them as well. This also goes to an extent for Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, and a few other Phase 2 and 3 characters, although I'm not opposed for them to continuing their stories for the same reason as I mentioned for Spider-Man. Number 2, any of the flopped characters. That's right, this is also our chance to get rid of She-Hulk. This point was specifically for She-Hulk, but also Loki the Eternals too, and anything that didn't really click in Phase 4. I think the reboot after Secret Wars really needs to be streamlined, so getting rid of things that didn't click with fans, critics, financially, anything that Marvel Studios doesn't look to really expand upon. Like the Eternals, Kevin Feige has said on multiple occasions that there aren't any immediate plans for the Eternals in the future. At this point, just get rid of them, and then reintroduce them later down the line if you really have to, or if you really want to. Number 3, clearing the Deadwood. This also gives us the opportunity to clear out any plot lines that didn't get resolved or caught up in between stories. Like, for example, if Spider-Man 4 doesn't get to use Scorpion as the main villain, that whole subplot about him coming back to get revenge on Spider-Man can be written out of the universe entirely. That's just one example, minor or major, but this goes across the whole universe. You can write all of these plot lines out and basically just streamline the entire story. Okay, now let's move on to things that I would add. Number 1, the new Avengers. I already alluded to this, but I would give a fresh lease of life to the likes of Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, and a bunch of the other OG characters from the old MCU. It would really help establish this new universe as a rebooted universe. Number 2, the Fantastic Four. I alluded to this in the intro. We know the F4 are a part of a different universe at this moment in time, but they will be added as a part of the new timeline, no doubt, with the Avengers in this new universe. So I think obviously they're going to be a major part of it, possibly even frontiering the new universe. Number 3, the X-Men. I believe this is something Marvel and Kevin Feige are waiting for anyway, but giving the X-Men a fresh new look and making them a spearhead of this new universe, possibly alongside the Fantastic Four, would be great. Plus, since Wolverine had a great send-off in Deadpool and Wolverine, it's not like you have to rush anything with Logan in this new universe. You can wait around for the right opportunity to introduce him when the time comes. So with all that out of the way, here's what a potential Phase 1 of this new universe would look like. Kicking off, we have Marvel Studios' special presentation, Deadpool New Universe. Once again, this will just be basically an introduction to the universe. We then have the likes of Captain America, Iron Man, Fantastic Four 2, Daredevil Season 5, Spider-Man 5, the X-Men, Shang-Chi 2, Hulk, and the Avengers. So it's a mix of the old and the new, with Deadpool kicking it off, explaining away the changes to the universe. I think the way he would explain it is that these new versions of Iron Man, Cap, Hulk, etc. are versions from another universe that have been tied into this new universe, like how the F4 are transitioning over to the MCU after Secret Wars, which will be very similar to what happened in the comics, when after the second Secret Wars event in 2015, they combined the original 616 universe and the Ultimate Universe, which started in the early 2000s. The main reason for this was so that they could transition Miles Morales in the Ultimate Universe over to the 616 universe, as he was a very popular character. But either way, they could use the same sort of reasoning here as they transition characters from different universes in the Marvel multiverse over into the brand new rebooted universe, combining them all, making one giant universe, with one giant continuity. Another note I want to add as well is that all of the rebooted characters' films won't be origins other than the X-Men. Like I mentioned, this would be a soft reboot, and if I were to actually pitch this rebooted universe after Secret Wars, I wouldn't want any of the characters to have new origin movies. We've already seen the origin movies in the original MCU. Everyone already knows the origins to these characters. I think it's time to just explore new stories, adapting different stories from the comics. On another note, characters like Captain Marvel, Thor, Wolverine, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and maybe even a new version of the Guardians would come in Phase 2. However, depending on what the overarching story is in Phase 1 and who they decide to go with the villain, any of those films could end end up playing out in phase 1, simply because their character ties heavily into the plot. Like for example, if Dormammu ended up being a massive threat and a big villain in this new phase 1, then Doctor Strange almost certainly would be a main character in the first phase. Speaking of the villain, if anyone asked what the big bad of the new universe would be, honestly, I have no idea. Thanos can never be topped in the Infinity Saga and needs more time until he comes back. Kang has a lot of baggage at this moment in time, with the whole stuff happening with Jonathan Majors. Also, at this point in time, we will have just come off the back of having Doctor Doom as the villain in Secret Wars, and Galactus is already showing up in the F4 movie, so we have no idea how that's going to go. I guess if you're going to go with any of them, Kang might be your best bet. Maybe a brand new version of Doctor Doom, since RDJ could be playing the infamous Iron Man instead of Victor Von Doom himself. I guess maybe you could do the Mandarin, or maybe even Loki again. There are pros and cons to all of the different villains, and it really depends what direction you want to go in. Maybe it might be Galactus, and maybe Galactus is actually being set up for the brand new MCU, and he'll be a part of the new universe that gets transitioned over from the Fantastic Four universe. Using Galactus in this way, even though we don't know what his fate is in the first Fantastic Four movie, may end up also being a more interesting direction forward, because as many of you may point out, a lot of the films are actually similar in this new rebooted MCU as they were in the old MCU. You don't want to directly copy what the old MCU did, or else that would just be boring. So I imagine Galactus could be a good fit for this, and seeing the Avengers, X-Men, and even the Fantastic Four all team up together from the same universe, not multiversal, would actually be really cool to see, and Galactus could be at the center of that. Let me know in the comments below who you think would be the big bad of the new universe. And in case you're wondering, Marvel Animation will remain untouched in my version of the soft reboot, and X-Men 97 Season 2 and Spider-Man Sophomore Year will continue development. Yeah, that's the general outline of how I'd reboot the MCU. Nothing too specific, but those are the characters and elements I'd keep, take away, and maybe even change for the new MCU and the new reboot to really feel alive and to make it work. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to like on it, and also make sure to subscribe if you are new around the channel. Make sure to hit the post notification bell so you do not miss any more fan fictions, what ifs, fan writings, pre-writes, rewrites, whatever it may be. If you enjoyed this video, here are some more videos on the screen right now that you may end up enjoying. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care, and peace.